Welcome to What's Your Story. Every week, I bring you a guest who's authentic and genuine, who will provide insights and practical information that you can put to use in your business and professional life immediately. You've heard me talk in the past about something called VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It seems to be the state of the business world today. Well, the good news is that today, my guest is going to shed some light that may help businesses create some certainty around this uncertain world that we're in. My guest today is Michael Brozzetti. His company is Boundless LLC, an audit and risk advisory firm. He's got more than 20 years of audit, risk, and compliance experience, working with public accounting firms, Fortune 500 companies, and large private corporations. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Charlie. Good to be here.
So let's get right to it. What is this thing that you do that can help corporations and business owners?
We help organizations build their ARCs, not the big wooden boats, but audit risk and compliance systems to help identify risk,
So you call them ARCs.
respond to risk, and improve operational and financial performance.
Explain that a little bit more, because you're talking to a non-financial person here.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to do is break risk management and audit down so that every company, no matter what size it is, can take advantage of the thought process and disciplines. Risk management is very much about risk taking. Every business is risk taking. The concept of risk management is to ensure we're minimizing the things that go wrong, we're maximizing the things that can go right, and the audit piece is helping make sure what we think is happening in our organizations actually is.
When you encounter a client, what do you see right away that may cause you to realize they have a great need?
Well, most clients that come to me have some form of objective and priority that they're coming to me with. Something that they want to achieve, something that they want to look, something where they have some uncertainty, something where they have some angst about. What I can help them do is review and understand the types of things and ask them the types of questions that are going to minimize their uncertainty, maximize their desired outcome, and do it in a way that's constructive, partnering with their organization and working with their people.
Partnering is a big word. So you get them involved, sort of like teaching them how to fish to prevent it from happening again, possibly.
Yeah, and I think the education piece is important. Risk management is most effective when it's embedded within your operational structures, within your management teams, and to the extent education can play a role in helping management, employees identify where there could be potential issues and concerns is going to be very beneficial to that organization because they can prevent bad outcomes.
Can you share with the audience a story of one of your larger clients and how you worked with them?
Yeah. Large organizations typically have multiple different business functions, obviously audit functions, compliance functions, as well as their operational functions. And where a lot of organizations struggle is when they identify potential risks, how do you manage all those risks and all those potential issues that you have and provide insight across the organization? And this is particularly important when you think about your executive suite and even your board of directors. How do you inform your board and your executive teams to have really good risk insight and risk intelligence into their organization? Where's the vulnerability? Where are the problems? Are we seeing themes across regions? Are we seeing themes across departments? One of my recent clients was looking to build a platform to really help streamline how that information is collected, how it's analyzed, and how it's reported, and helping management really have the right tools to understand where would they need to go and who could they potentially work with and who in their organization is maybe experiencing similar types of issues so that they can remediate those and resolve those types of issues. And management does what management does best. They build processes, they build controls around their processes, and they execute their processes. Well, by having good insight to where your issues and your blind spots might be, that provides them an opportunity to resolve them, embed them into their business as usual processes, and then prevent those potentially bad outcomes and maximize those positive outcomes.
So there's a value of bringing somebody in from the outside to do that.
There is, and sometimes I say, I have 2 young kids, and every child goes through the why phase. And sometimes when you have an independent perspective, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing it, who you're doing it, where you're getting your information from, challenging those underlying assumptions that when you're ingrained in your own process, sometimes you lose sight of, can be a valuable catalyst to help you identify and see things that you haven't thought about.
Yeah, well, especially when you've not utilized someone like yourself and you've suffered, the need is even greater the next time around.
That's right.
I want to shift gears a little bit. I'm fascinated by the name of your company, Boundless. Can you give us a little background on how did that happen?
Sure. Well, a friend of mine that I was working with at the time in the corporate space, we were both employees, we were working together, and we had this notion of building a company. And we were kicking around a lot of different business ideas and business names, and he had actually come up with the term Boundless, and it caught on right away, and it really resonated with me because we both really had a philosophy and passion for looking at how do we do things better without the typical boundaries or boxes that many people are used to working within.
So the irony is you're getting outside of the box in some ways, but helping your client get inside the box so that they minimize their risk, they have better compliance, et cetera. So I think that irony is quite interesting.
Well, I think it's a good point. Maybe I'd frame it a little bit differently and say maybe it's getting out of the box to make sure that you can look at that box and make sure you're putting the right stuff in it.
Okay. Listen to him, don't listen to me. So what difference, there are a lot of people out there that I'm sure offer services similar to your firm.
There are.
But what is it about you that makes you different, or what have clients said to you that would indicate what your difference is?
I think it's my ability to be able to break down risk management and auditing into simple, plain talk language. Also, my philosophy is to help educate and train your management team to have better risk management disciplines in their day-to-day processes, and not necessarily connect you to multi-year contract where you need me all the time. So education is really, I think, an important distinguishing factor, and breaking down what is often can be viewed as a complex and sophisticated industry into palatable, more simple parts. I think there's a lot of providers that often make distinctions without difference. And when you get to the heart of risk management, again, it's really about making sure you're minimizing those things that can go wrong, you're maximizing those things that can go right, and you have the right processes to make sure what you think is happening actually is within your organization.
I look at effectiveness in how you're effective when they keep bringing you back and giving you more engagements to do more work.
Sure.
Talk about that a little bit.
Most of my engagements end up project oriented, but will run maybe 3 to 6 months, and then maybe get into a new area with a client for another 3 to 6 months, and kind of help them again bring that education philosophy in, help get them on track, help get their people educated, help get them familiar with how to be more astute to identifying risks and managing those risks within their own organization, and then perhaps moving on within the organization, which has happened a lot of times. I've certainly had scenarios where I've worked with clients for multiple years. It may not be the same project, but by nature of my work and the relationships that I build, they could sometimes turn into longer term engagements.
You had mentioned that you spent time in public accounting world.
Yes.
Why did it pivot into having your own practice? What was it about that appealed to you?
I think it was the flexibility to bring in some of the philosophies that I've had when it comes to risk management. When we think about business, every business is about people, it's about process, and it's about technology. My philosophy is very much the people aspects, is if we can bring good risk management and auditing discipline into an educational context and help the people within an organization, I really believe that you have a much more sustainable and scalable expertise now that resides within your organization. And the big firms, I've learned a lot from them. They're excellent at knowledge management. They are sometimes a little bit more process oriented in terms of methodologies and the things that the values that they provide to their clients. And there's certainly a time and a place for that. But I think the differentiator that I am able to bring is a little bit more emphasis to that training and that education piece to really help clients become self-sustainable. And a few times I've worked with clients with the specific intent to set them up with maybe an audit function or set them up with some type of compliance function that they can maintain in-house with their own employees.
If someone were to say to you, describe your company in 3 words, what 3 words come to mind?
Integrity, candor, and sincerity.
So quickly build a little story around that for me, will you?
Yeah. Audit's very much about finding the truth about your business. And that can be painful sometimes. But if you really want to improve your financial and your operational performance, you have to be ready to roll up your sleeves and call the spades the spades. So I think an aspect of the audit discipline is about fact-finding. It's really helping make sure that you can bring the truth to your clients, doing it in a candid way, but also doing it in a constructive way. And I think that's where integrity plays into place as well. And I found that when you can help in a constructive way, focus on the people aspects and help the people understand that it's okay to have problems. What's most important is recognizing them and then being able to resolve them in a constructive way.
And turn those problems into opportunities, possibly.
And turn them into opportunities. Yeah. And I think if many organizations, they will reprimand problems to a point where you're really self-defeating because you're not going to reach continual improvement because employees are more worried about hiding the problems rather than resolving those problems.
Let's end this segment on that note because we have to have a word from our sponsors. But please stay there. We'll be right back with Michael and more things about how to make your business more certain. We'll be right back.
Be a very confusing and complicated process. Help is just a phone call away. 856-226-4800. As a licensed insurance agent, I'll assist you in making an informed and confident decision on a Medicare plan that meets your needs, lifestyle, and budget. Call me today for a free, no obligation Medicare benefits consultation. 856-226-4800.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hippity hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches. Solid rock. And everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey.
Burlington County College.
Is now Rowan College of Burlington County.
Still the same great faculty.
At a community college ranked top 50 in the nation.
Basically, we earn more and pay less.
RCBC students are accepted at Rowan University after graduation.
And get a bachelor's degree for around $30,000.
Online and Mount Laurel students get a 15% Rowan University tuition discount.
And have many scholarship opportunities.
So you earn more and pay even less.
Rowan College of Burlington County.
Your path to success.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to strengthen our service members? What does it take to let them know that we stand behind them, wherever they are? What does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? And what does it take to prepare them for their future? when their service to the nation is complete. What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Share a message today at force.uso.org.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
a home. I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind-the-scenes footage, previews, and more.
Welcome back to What's Your Story? Today my guest is Michael Brozzetti. Michael has a very interesting firm that helps companies minimize uncertainty and maximize certainty for their businesses. Before we went to break, I asked you for 3 words that you think would describe your practice quite well. And you said sincerity, candor, and integrity. Which leads me to my next question, and that is, what is your why? What is the purpose that drives you every morning to get up? I get a sense it's not to make a lot of money. It's some other driver that pushes you forward. So share that with us, will you, Michael?
I think if we can anchor to those words, I think the candor and the sincerity is really being able to tell your clients the truth. And I think that's something that sometimes out there are people that wake up just for the money, and sometimes the truth isn't the priority in perhaps the work that they do. And it's important from a risk management and audit perspective to make sure that you're fact-based. Make sure that you're sharing with your clients the truth of the matters that you're reviewing, and helping them build a culture where it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay as long as we're looking to improve our organization and improve our company.
You've heard the term trusted advisor used.
Yes.
How does that apply to your practice?
Well, I think trust is natural flow from communication. And if we're communicating truthfully, candidly, sincerely, the trust is natural. You know, I would have to really say my clients are the ones who can tout me as a trusted advisor rather than myself, because they're the ones who can attest to those qualities. So those are natural. It's a natural byproduct of, I think, the service and the philosophies that I bring to my clients.
So what's the outcome that you want for your clients as a result of the work you do with them? What's the end game for them that you're shooting for?
So obviously I want to see their organizations succeed. I'd like to see financial and operational improvements in their organization, but what really drives that is them as people, them as human beings.
You mentioned that earlier.
I like to see their careers advance. I'd like to see not only their businesses do well, but make sure that they're accomplishing the things that they want to accomplish from their professional perspective. Because that's how you get sustainable success and sustainable outcomes to really last within the organization. So it always makes me smile when, you know, and they don't necessarily always have to be from the executive team. Oftentimes they are, right. But the management level folks, the folks that are really into the day-to-day operations that can support the types of projects that I work on, it's good to see them advance throughout their careers. And in the smaller corporation context, it's good to see, being very entrepreneurial minded myself, it's good to see those smaller corporations that are private grow or reach new goals that they never thought that they could.
Let's focus on that for a moment. I get the large organizations, but the middle privately owned corporations, what's the value proposition for them to bring in somebody such as yourself?
Well, I think the value is in having an independent, objective advice and insight provided to the executive team of a smaller company. Now, most likely that's not going to be done through having an internal audit or a formal risk management function like a lot of larger corporations oftentimes have. But that discipline and that thought process can oftentimes be created through having some form of an advisory board for the CEO of the smaller privately held companies.
Can we talk about that a little bit, the advisory board concept?
Sure. I'm a member of executive leaders for advisory boards. They're a Philadelphia-based organization, really dedicated group of entrepreneurs, founders of companies and executives that are looking to help privately held corporations. And doing so by establishing a board of, it could be 2 or 3 people, and sometimes they could be 5 or 6. There's really no guidelines on or requirements around how many potential advisors you could have, but the idea is to present that independent objective insight that you could potentially miss as being a CEO of your organization.
Can you share a story of a smaller organization? The example you gave before was, I think, a large organization.
Sure, it was.
Can you give us something in the middle area there?
Sure. I've worked with smaller privately held companies. One that comes to my mind is a fabrication company. So they were in the business of fabricating countertops for kitchens. And they used special composite materials. And the CEO had some concerns around how he was managing his inventory, and also had concerns of how he was handling repair work when his customers might drop a hammer on their countertop and chip it and need his services to come and repair the countertop. So those were 2 distinct projects that engaged as an advisor capacity, and had a chance to work with some of his management team to ultimately help him develop a new inventory management system and processes, which enabled him to turn his inventory quicker, as well as reduce his holding costs. One of the unique properties of his composite materials were when you put them together, they have to be within a certain range of serial number to make sure that the human eye can't see any differences in the materials. Mm-hmm. So by being able to track his materials down to a serial number level, which his inventory system could do, he was able to limit and make less orders, leverage material that he had on hand, and still provide the type of quality and services that his customers expected.
So that outside perspective that has grown in you over many, many years of working with larger companies, he was able to benefit from.
He was able to benefit from it, and I think another thing we had a chance to do on that project, and this is probably a good example of you don't know what you don't know. This CEO thought he had the problem of not being able to cover his cost when he would send his team out to do a repair job. So we were able to work with the management team and kind of get the facts behind the matter, some data, understanding of how the process worked. And his goal was not to make money. His goal was to make sure that his customers were satisfied with his repair and he wasn't losing any money. So it was very much a customer service play from his perspective. And on average, maybe a couple $100 would cost for a repair. He was breaking even, but as we went through that, one of the ideas that we had suggested was rather than just charging the folks that encounter a scenario where there's damage to their counter, have you thought about a warranty program where if you could get 25% of your customers to pay $100 for the peace of mind that if something did happen, you would come out and repair it, you could bring that same level of customer service, give that same level of assurance to your customers, and actually turn what is a cost-neutral center into a profit center and keep everyone happy.
That would be a value proposition that he could offer that others in his business sector probably don't offer.
That's right, and that was one of the recommendations that came out of our work. And 1 year down the road, he had a warranty department, he had a manager that was managing all of their warranty programs, and it worked out really nice for him. Was able to increase some of their profitability as well as keep their clients very happy.
What you just talked about reminded me of a quote. I don't know to whom to attribute it, but it said, "Sunlight's the greatest disinfectant." So we were talking about uncertainty and problems, and all of a sudden when you shine the right sunlight on it, it can get better. And that's, in a way, what you bring.
Yeah, transparency is the best disinfectant. That is a good quote, and I've heard it in other arenas, and I think it's true. I think when you're looking at the facts of the matter, and you're not afraid to understand them and accept them, you're going to be best positioned to make sure you're making the right decisions to improve your company.
Well, again, these privately held corporations, they employ lots of people.
Yeah.
And if they are not making informed decisions to move forward, that could have very, very fatal consequences for many, many different people.
Yeah, or making decisions off the wrong information, or
So
not
what-
enough information.
So what's the right time for people to contact you?
It really could be any time. They could think they might have a problem. They could think that they're just looking for some additional assurance, a second opinion, if you will. Those are two typical scenarios that a company can certainly engage the services that I provide.
What's the future look like?
So for me personally, a lot of my work is with the Fortune 500 companies, and I've been able to do very well for myself. I see the future for me is helping some of the privately held companies, again, bring some of these formal disciplines that you see in the big public company space, bringing it down to private corporations in a very pragmatic and value-oriented way. And I think a lot of that can start with private companies engaging with an advisory board and having that independent perspective. And hey, I'm not necessarily a strategist, but maybe there's a strategist that's part of that team, if you will, that advisory team for that CEO. So working with the CEO to really understand what are the disciplines and the expertise that you want to surround yourself with to really help you grow your business is probably a good first step. And I see my future probably getting less away from some of the bigger companies and really working with some of the smaller privately held corporations in some form of an advisory role.
I think that would be very satisfying for you to do that. I'm looking forward to talking. Listen, we have to bring this to an end. I want to end it on a positive note. I think that that's wonderful that you're thinking of doing that, because the more we can help those middle market or small privately held companies, the better our economy is going to be. This is the part of the show where you look into the camera and you speak to the audience and offer them advice, guidance, and offer whatever you have that could be helpful to them. So
Sure.
Time's yours.
Sure. Well, I would say anybody that has an interest that you're looking to minimize things that can go wrong in your business, maximize those things that can go right, and want to make sure that what you think is happening actually is, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you to see whether or not maybe an advisory board or some form of an advisory engagement might be beneficial to you.
It's scary to bring in an expert who can possibly say things to you that are uncomfortable, but we have to do it for the good of the business. Michael, thank you so much for being on What's Your Story.
Thanks, Charlie. Good to be
I'm
with you.
looking to see your progress in the future. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today. As I said, every week I bring you guests who are authentic, genuine, who provide insights, as Michael did, that can help you in your personal and professional life. So I will see you here next week on What's Your Story. Be well.